First look. We're gonna put our light on now. We have our mounting brackets up loosely already. Everything is loose so it can all be tightened and adjusted. For the install, you want to make sure everything is loose so that when you mount everything and you tighten everything, the light is straight and it fits exactly where it needs to go. Alright, that looks good there. So now we'll just slowly start tightening everything. Alright, everything looks pretty level, pretty straight. And then you could always adjust it if you need to, but try to do it the first time, a little easier. So we got our wire here. So we'll run our wire with all these here, right into the number plate with the brakes. So this will be good. Now we're gonna drill our holes for our switches. We measured and marked everything, so there's enough clearance underneath for everything to fit and sit. So we'll just start with a pilot hole. It's a 16 millimeter, so we'll go about 5/8. We'll just use this reamer bit to get there. You don't want to go too much with that. You want to go one step at a time and then make sure you're good. So that's almost perfect. Perfect. And then we'll repeat the same on all the other holes. Perfect. Okay. So with these switches, you get O-rings, which go between the nut and the switch. That'll keep any water from getting through there. So it'll sit just like that. Then you'll drop your switch in. Then the nut just goes on the bottom. We're going to take our long needle nose and we'll just tighten up the nuts on the bottom. So there's all of our switches installed. Turned out really nice. So one's going to be for our headlight, our tail light, red underglow, white underglow. So these switches are only rated for 3 amps, so everything has to be on its own switch so that you don't burn the switches out. And it's nice that way that then you could turn on and off anything you want. And I do it with just constant hot so that I could turn these on and off, you know, without having to have the key in it. So there we have all of our pieces. We just drill that to a 7/32. Then we have our 1/4-20 tap. Just want to tap through this so that we can thread our bolts into this just to hold our controller up. So it looks just like that. We'll have to trim them down to make everything flush once we get it up there, but we're just gonna mock it up right now. We're just gonna paint these. All right, we're gonna mount our controller. We got our brackets on. So we're gonna put it up. We cover that hole there. So we're gonna just move it up a little bit. And we're gonna just drill a small pilot hole. So you want to run the screws in after you drill the hole just to thread it. We're gonna get this measured up so we can reinstall this. So looks like we just have to cut we'll just try to use some tin snips. Perfect. You'll never see that, so just cutting that and leaving it is fine. All right, we're gonna mount this cover back up. We have our hardware. We're gonna use the existing holes. We cut our slots out to fit around our brackets. All right. Just a 4mm Allen. We'll get all four started first. So we're using a ball end Allen. So that way when we have our Allen in there, we can't be exactly straight on with it, so it allows us a little bit of degree of angle so we can get in there and still reach our head and get it tightened. Harbor Freight, really cheap. Lifetime warranty, so if it breaks, just bring it in to give you a new one. Now we're going to hook up our wires to our controller. We have our blue, green, and yellow. We're just going to match it up color for color. So it's pretty simple, straightforward. So then we'll get our cable and we'll hook up our positive negative. We're also going to be hooking up our 72 to 12 volt converter to this as well. So we'll get some eyelets for those. And then we have to hook up our brake light as well to the 72 volts. So we're going to have to extend these wires and put them there with our cable. So when our black and red go to our 72 volts, and then it drops it down to 12 volts. So we're going to extend our wires, put eyelets, and hook everything up to the power and ground. And that 72 volts will feed our taillight 72 to 12 volt converter and our 72 to 12 volt converter for our headlight and our underglow. Now we're going to put some dielectric grease on our connector and we're going to plug it in. Then we have our switch and our throttle. Other connector. So we're just going to cut these two off. Have just enough clearance. Perfect. Battery's all the way back. We have clearance all the way around. Alright, we're going to modify this light. It doesn't fit back there, so we're just going to trim these off, make it flush. Double-side sticky tape it, we'll drill some holes and run a couple screws up to the bottom plastic here. So we got those cut off. Now we're just gonna drill 2 holes on the end here. So now we'll just take some alcohol and we'll just clean the back side of this so the double-side sticky tape sticks well. Alright, I'm going to show you guys how to wire up these switches here. So we have all of our power in and ground tied together for all 4 switches. And then we have our common pin open. So when you press the button, that's your green is going to allow power through. So when it's closed, there's no power to the green wire. So we want the switch to light up when we press it and whatever we're powering up to light up when we press it. So this red wire is the 12-volt power for the light on the switch. So we have those two tied together. So once again, we have our ground for the whole switch, for the light as well. We have our power in, common in, and then we're gonna have 4 different basically power out switched hot with the light attached to it for each one. So now I'm going to show you guys how this works. So we have our power probe. We have our grounds coming off our power probe, which we're going to put to the black. And then this will be our consistent supply. And then this is going to act, say this is our underglow here, or headlight, whatever. So we're gonna apply 12.93 volts. So we have nothing, the switch isn't lit up, our test light isn't lit up. So we're gonna press the switch, our light is lit up now, and our test light is lit up as well. We're gonna press it, and then everything's gonna go off while power's still there. So no more power to the light, no more power to our underglow or headlight or tail light. So it took me a little while to figure it out, but you know, after I did the bike over there, it's pretty easy now. So the more you guys do this stuff, the easier it'll become. But yeah, so like I said, one's gonna be our underglow red, one's gonna be underglow white, and then we're gonna have our headlight and our tail light attached to this as well. So now we're gonna just get these hooked up. I'll show you guys how to do that. All right, we got our power probe back out. These are wires for our underglow, our white underglow. So we're gonna just apply power and ground, figure out which wires are which. We have all the white and black tied together and all the black tied together. Black's probably our ground. So we'll ground that. Yep, so we have our front. Turn that off. And then our rear. Yeah, so black is our ground. White is gonna be our power. So we'll just hook that up to one of these switches here. We'll have our power already in. We'll have our ground. So we'll just run an extra ground wire so we can ground this to that, and then power will go directly into the our switch side. And all the white is going to be off one switch. So it'll be just like this. Like that. This will go to a ground coming off of here or here. This will be connected to there. And this will be for our red underglow. All right, we're going to be using our multimeter to figure out our switch wires here for our tail light, or I'm sorry, for our headlight. So we're not using this switch, we're going to be using one of these. So I just cut this off. It has a white and a red wire. The power and ground is the red and the black here, which I have coming off my 72 to 12 volt converter. So I know this is my power and ground to the light. So I know one of these has to have power with this, because, and I'm assuming it's the red, but we're going to use our multimeter to just check continuity. So when we have a complete circuit or a wire, you know, it's going to make that noise. So we're going to go on our power side, and then we're going to check this one. Nothing. So we know that this is going to be our switch hot, and this is going to be what lights up our headlight. So, and if you want, I could show you guys that as well. We'll grab our power probe again. So now we should have continuity. So say that's power to our switch right now, and I hit the switch, which is now this. So this will be power to the switch. Then when I hit that switch, the switch is going to light up, and it's gonna light this light up. So definitely a useful tool to have, just a power probe. You know, you can get them at Harbor Freight unless you order it off like eBay or somewhere. You know, Harbor Freight has them in stock for sure. I got this one from the macro truck a long time ago. So yeah, thought I'd show you guys that, and we'll keep hooking up the lights here. So I already hooked up our tail light. Here. So we have, this is the converter that comes with our tail light. It has one built in. So I have 72 directly to that off the battery here, or off the controller where it connects to the battery. So I have 72 in, and this puts 12 volt out. It drops it down. So we have our ground already. So this is gonna be 12 volt hot to our switch. And then when we hit our switch, it's gonna light up the tail light back there. So now we'll finish hooking up our headlight. So red is our hot end. And this is going to be our switched hot to the light. So these are our two. We'll plug those in there. We just have to ground it, and we'll run a ground from here to these. And then this one is going to go to here. So this is going to be the rest of our power to our underglow off the 72 to 12 volt. So we'll probably have to extend the wires for that. So I'll grab some stuff. All right, we got everything cleaned up, tucked away, zip tied. So this is going to be the first time I'm going to plug the battery in. So I'm going to put my safety glasses on, put some gloves on. Battery is fully charged. So hopefully everything goes well. We double checked our work, so we should be good. I have no clue where the key is. I'll have to look for that. But we don't need the key to check the lights. So here's our plug. It only goes in one way. So, okay. Fully plugged in. Let's try our light. Okay, so that one works. That's our headlight. That one doesn't work. So our red underglow and our taillight doesn't work. All right, so we'll have to look back in that. Take a look. Might be something real simple, might not be plugged in all the way. So let me take a look at that. I'll get back with you guys. All right, guys, so as you can see, there's two ways this can plug in. One way that doesn't work, if you notice, there's nothing for this clip to grab onto on the other side. I had the two outside ones plugged in backwards because I can't really see up there. So I just pulled it, took a look at it, noticed I had it plugged in the opposite way, and just switched it. And now As you can see, we have everything working. We have our red, our white, our headlight, and our tail light. Alright, welcome back to Being Modified. Today we're going to be finishing up the Indian Razor build. We have the wheel to throw on, we have the battery box to put on, we have the chain to put on, hopefully the chain's long enough, and then this build should be complete. It's been about a week and a half. I've been waiting to get the wheel back from my homie who was welding it up. We got the free wheel welded up. We have the 58 tooth sprocket on there from Momentum Watts. We have the 160 millimeter rotor on there already. So this guy's ready to just throw up and get it on there, make sure it's all good. I have another sprocket from Electron Co. So maybe I'll do, try this one, see what we get for top speed, and then throw the other one on, see what we get for top speed on that, because I know they're different sizes. So we'll get into this build. But first, I need to clean this cart. So I'm gonna get that finished up, and then we'll get right into this build. All right, let's get this cleaned off. All right, before we throw this tire on, we're gonna cut this off here. This is for the old chain tensioner. So we're gonna remove that so the new chain doesn't get in the way of that. So we're just gonna use our cutoff wheel here. Okay. So we don't know if this is gonna be, it looks long enough, so we'll just put it on for now. We'll see if we need to trim it down or anything. So we got our chain on. Now we're gonna get this wheel on. We're gonna apply some grease just to the bearings, just on the outer surface, just so that it stays a little lubricated. We'll put a little grease on the axle as well. We'll put our heatsink back on. We just removed it to cut that because it was kind of blocking us from getting all the way up there to cut that. So we'll put this back on. Just slides right on. So before we put our wheel on, we have to make sure the chain is around everything. Oh yeah, it looks like we're gonna need to trim this guy down. Alright, so that's pretty tight there. We still have room for our axle to move back some. So I think that we will take off this link. So when we do this link is going to be on the outside here. So we want to take one of these off. So if we take that one off, that should give us enough room. We could even maybe take this one off here. So we still have quite a bit of room there. So yeah, we'll start with this one first. We're just going to use our cutoff wheel here. So our chain is on. Now our link is going to go from the inside out, just like that. Then our second part of our link here. And then our keeper to keep the links together. Ooh. So we're gonna put it going down, just like that. So now we will get our chain where we want it. The chain a little longer. I know it's gonna stretch out over time, but we could always remove a link if we need to. Chain looks pretty straight. So we have our 11 mil. We'll just try to make sure the chain's all aligns really well. Get this lined up a little bit more. Okay. Everything looks pretty good there. So we will tighten our axle up. Just again with the two 18 millimeters. Chain's pretty tight, so now we'll just snug these down again. These are just to keep this from moving forward. The axle's what keeps everything tight. So we may double nut these just to make sure nothing moves, but check our brake again. That looks good. And these brakes are nice because the lines come off at a slight angle, maybe like a 10 or 15 degree angle on the rear and the front. So this front tire has no clearance issues. I know a lot of people, they come off straight and they rub the tire and they have to zip tie it away. So these brakes are really nice. I like using these for that reason. And they have really good stopping power. You know, I haven't had any issues with this one yet. All right, so now that we got the chain and everything hooked up, we're gonna go check the brake fluid level. So we have just some mineral oil, hydraulic mineral oil for disc brakes. And then I'm just gonna use a oral syringe because that'll fit in there. It'll keep the air out while I put the fluid in. So we'll give the brakes, we'll pump them up a little bit, get the fluid moving. We'll give this baby a little spin. Oh my goodness. Oh. Okay. You want to make sure you don't lose the O-ring on there. So we'll just suck some fluid up. Grab our rag. And we'll just put some pressure, and then we just push the fluid in. So there you go. That should be pretty full. We'll take our Allen and our O-rings on there. So just put it back in. Get it tightened up. Just put it really tight. Push the fluid in. Okay. I'm sorry, guys. So our O-ring's on. Buddy, it's already late. Okay, so now we'll just hit the brakes again, pump up the fluid. So there are adjustments on these brakes here, so we can do any adjusting we need to. So now we have the battery box to do. So I already have it marked up. I'll grab it, show you guys, we'll cut it, we'll get that installed. All right, y'all, we got our battery box covers. We're gonna cut it with our Milwaukee tool here. So I have it marked out already. As you can see, we're gonna cut here all the way up to here. So it'll clear the controller and the battery and everything. And then on this side, we're gonna do the same thing. Cut there. And then we're gonna just cut all this stuff off as well, so that we have enough room when this sits in there, so that it's not hitting the battery or anything, because this sits pretty flush in there. So we'll try to cut this off as close as we can. Maybe we'll just remove it all and then, you know, cut it and then reinstall everything. So everything's trimmed up. We're just gonna take a second here. Take a second here and do a walk around. Get a look at the bike before we put the covers back on. Everything's looking perfect. And we'll just hit all the switches. Red to match. We got our underglow. We have our headlight. And then our tail light. All right, we'll get this side mounted up first. Can't really get this in there, so I grab my magnetic finger for those hard to reach spots. Get that guy right in there. There you go, look at that. All right, we got the battery box on. This thing is complete. You know, we might do a little bit of paint. I'm gonna throw some stickers on. I could film that for you guys. But other than that, it's done. So you guys stay tuned. We're gonna do top speed run, range test, and just an all-around ride and an overview of the complete bike. Thanks for staying with me. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode. Have a great day. Alrighty, y'all, we got it all finished. The Indian is completely done, 100%. We got the brakes, 160mm rotors. We got the exhaust back on. We added these stickers here. We got these foot pegs. We got the swing arm extensions, 160mm rotors in the rear with our brakes. We got our Socian motor, the FW11. Under there we have a 32 amp hour 72 volt battery by Momentum Watts and a Socian controller. We got the handlebars, some Pro tapers with the matching gold brakes. We got our headlight, our key switch with ignition, fully charged at 83.7 volts. Got our speedometer, our Pro taper grips, and we have our 58 tooth rear sprocket from Momentum Watts. Other side of the rear swing arms, we have an 11 tooth front sprocket off the motor. Our pegs again, we got our battery box on. So this thing is done, complete. Let me know what you guys think. I think it turned out really well. You know, we'll be doing some more stuff to it at some point, but for right now, it's done. We're gonna ride it, we're gonna enjoy it, we're gonna shoot some videos with it. So I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks for sticking with me. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And also, once we hit 1,000 subscribers, we're going to be giving away a brand new in-the-box Indian eFTR, which is right here. So make sure you're subscribed, make sure you watch every video, details to come, but we definitely will be giving it away after 1,000 subscribers, so please stay tuned. Like I said, let me know what you guys think down below. Everyone have a great day. Peace.